Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Unfiltered. I'm Marley Russell and I'm a real estate agent based out of Roanoke, Virginia. For this guest, I've been patiently waiting for this one. It all kind of started with a random call with an Alabama phone number. So without further ado, Amberly Cicero, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you said yes to this.
I can't believe I did. Not much for me.
Hey, we're recording now, so no going back.
That's
But I have to say, I already told you off camera, but you are putting my little Charlie Brown tree to shame. It looks beautiful there, and you're like nice
Thank
and warm
you.
by a fire. So
This is
it's
my favorite spot in the winter.
awesome. No, it's so cute. And so how many stockings do you actually have up? I'm assuming there's probably a
So
couple more.
we have 6 because we
Okay.
have 3 kids and our oldest is married. So we have a son-in-law. So
Awesome.
we
So
have
he
6.
made the
And
cut.
then we have our dog stocking hanging over there. There's not room. So we have a little stocking too, but
Well, that's awesome that, the significant other made the cut. So
yeah. Oh, of
you
course. They've been married for 2 years now, so he's official, and
awesome.
he got a stocking. Well, I will have to admit, I forgot to order his stocking the first year. They got married in October, and Christmas rolled around, and I thought, "Oops,
Mhm.
I
It's
forgot
okay.
to buy a stocking." But he has one now.
Awesome. So any grandbabies yet, or are you just kind of
No,
patiently
no
waiting for that?
grandbabies. My daughter is, she is an RN and she's
Oh,
also
wow.
in nurse practitioner school. So she's finished 2 semesters of that. So she's got another year and a half of that. So I
She's got
don't think we're going to have any grandbabies for at least a couple years.
yeah, well, she's got plenty on her plate. She's got
Oh
more than
yes.
enough to be
Yeah.
busy
She's
with,
super
so
busy. Yeah. Yeah.
enjoy it while you can,
Right.
'cause
Right. And she's
can't
in Alabama. So they're going to be a long way away when I start getting them.
gotcha. Well, I have a feeling you're gonna have to go out of town a lot more, but
I
like
might.
we were talking about, you're just gonna sell more houses because that's
That's
whenever
exactly
realtors
right. That's right. That is
get
true.
business, whenever you go out of town.
That's right. It happened
Um,
this week, actually.
oh my gosh. How
Yeah.
did that but all good? It all went under
It was all
contract
good.
and
So, funny story, my husband and I had planned this trip to New York City because we've never been up at Christmas time. So we wanted to go up and see the lights, and our birthdays were this week. So his was Monday, mine was Tuesday. So we had planned this little Sunday to Tuesday quick trip.
uh-huh.
Um, and some friends of mine who were planning to buy next year called me. They had gone to
Ooh,
an open house and they said,
I'm
"Hey,
in love.
we really like this house and we think we want to see it again and we think we want to put an offer." So all this happened Friday evening. So we finally ratified Sunday afternoon while I was on the Amtrak from DC to New York City.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
So it's been crazy. Yeah.
oh my gosh. But that's awesome
But
that
that's
you got
great. Yeah.
ratified.
I'm not going
Thank
to
God.
complain about that.
Well, thank God for a hotspot and Wi-Fi
Right.
on the Amtrak too.
Right. Right.
Oh my
I
gosh.
worked a lot on the train.
Yeah, which is good and bad. But
Yes. Right.
well,
Right.
well, first though, happy late birthday. I
Thank
don't know
you.
how I
Thank
didn't
you.
see that. So I hope, you had an awesome trip. It really is the best time to go to New York City is
Oh,
whenever
it
it's
was
the
great.
Christmas time. So
Yeah.
what all did you see? Did you get to see like Rockettes and
We
the
did. We
tree and
saw
all
the
that?
Rockettes. It was very low key. We were trying to just not have too much of a plan,
Mhm.
but we did get to go to the Seinfeld restaurant. I don't know if you're a big Seinfeld fan, but we're
My
old.
husband is.
So,
Yeah.
so we love Seinfeld. We got to go to the restaurant that's in that, and we went to the Rockettes one
Mhm.
night. We went, of course, all around Rockefeller Center, took a lot of
Mhm.
pictures with the Christmas tree, and we went to the Starbucks Reserve in the Empire
Mm,
State Building. It's a new 3-level Starbucks Reserve store. My
cool.
husband loves coffee. I drank some coffee because it was his birthday, but I don't typically drink coffee. So, but that was fun. So we had a lot of fun. It was a fun kind of laid back, sleep in, ease into it kind of trip. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and it's not too far away because 'cause you're up
No,
at
3.5 hours on
yeah,
train. Yep,
and
yep.
you're in the remind me, Centerville
Clifton.
Clifton, okay, I was like, I know it's a C, but there's, like,
Yeah,
Chantilly, there's Centerville, there's
right.
Clifton, like, which C
Yeah,
is
that's
it?
right.
Okay. Now, I did notice because I was doing some stalking, And I also know it because whenever we first kind of met on the phone
Uh-huh.
with our first transaction, that you're from Alabama, but you're up here, because that really threw me for a loop whenever I got the call.
Right.
I'm like, is it just another telemarketer calling me?
Right.
Like,
Right.
but you never know. Being a real estate agent, you're
That's
like,
right.
you
And
have to
up here,
answer.
everybody's has a different area code because everybody's
Hmm.
from somewhere else. So
Hmm. So how long have you been in Northern Virginia then?
we have been here about 8.5 years.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Mhm.
So what brought you up here?
So my husband's job, he's a
Okay.
preacher.
Oh,
So we moved
awesome.
up here for that. Yep.
Okay.
And then
Awesome.
I met, so I'm on a team with Charlet Shriner. She is a top producing agent in Northern Virginia and has been for 28 plus years now.
Awesome.
I was introduced to her through it was one of her clients who was also the mom of one of my youngest daughter's classmates. So I met her on a field trip. We were chaperoning, and she remembered me when she heard that Charlotte was looking for an admin assistant.
Whoa.
And I have a finance degree from Auburn University, and when I was down there,
More power to you. I don't do numbers.
I like the numbers part, yeah. I took a real estate course, but never really pursued it, but always kind of was interested. And then before we moved here, we lived in Birmingham, Alabama, and
Mhm.
I worked with an appraiser. And so
Mm.
that was a really great kind of foundation and just made me want, to be involved in real estate somehow, even more. So when this opportunity came up, I could not turn it down, so I didn't.
No.
So we
Awesome.
interviewed and she hired me, and for a year, I basically just did the paperwork, learned
Mhm.
about the contracts and the agreements, and just soaked up every ounce of knowledge I could from her. She was great. When she interviewed me, she actually told me that she would love, if I was interested, for me to someday get my license and work, with her on her team. At the time, it's just her.
Mhm.
But so that's what I did. I worked with her for a year, then got my license, and so I've been a realtor now just over 5 years. Um,
Awesome.
yep.
That, I mean,
Highly
smart on
recommend.
her part.
Do
Go right
what?
ahead. No, you go right
Highly
ahead.
recommend working with somebody to kind of get your. Um, it was just a great foundation because I learned kind of how when you take the exam, you don't really
No.
see the business part. I mean, it's the legal stuff, but it's not really the
Mhm.
day to day, right? So it was really helpful. Um, just doing all the paperwork, being familiar with all the terminology and all of that, and then having somebody that was such a good teacher and mentor, and wanted me to win, to succeed, and to do well, and also those first transactions, and even still, I mean, just somebody to, hey, what do you think about this? Or,
Mhm.
when things come up. So it's still great. She's great and has been a huge blessing.
No, that's awesome.
Yep.
And she definitely made the right choice whenever she's like, I'd love you to be on my team. Because, I
Thank you.
mean, just our first phone call, I was like, this lady is so nice. So
Oh,
nice. And I mean, my background is recruiting. I've been doing that for 7 years. So I
oh,
have a pretty good, like, I feel like gut to know if like someone is like kind of true or if they're like kind of fibbing a bit,
yeah,
with how many people I talk to on the phone with that.
sure,
But whenever I
sure.
talk to you, I was like, she's just genuine. And that makes all the difference whenever you're going through a transaction like this. You want someone that's going to be genuine and like on your side. I probably sound like a broken record because I say that all the time, but it's really true. It makes all
Yeah,
the difference in it.
it really does.
But smart on her for, being like, "Hey, come on my team." And that probably, like you were saying, it was a great experience for you to kind of go into it that first year and look at all the paperwork and kind of like behind the scenes a little bit, because I didn't do it that way. Still was, working full time. So it's basically like two full-time jobs.
Oh, yes.
Um, but I didn't have that flexibility with having a toddler, another job, because I'm like, I don't have a book of business built up yet.
Right, right.
And so, like, really, I really made my my best friend is definitely our broker, because I'm like, hey, Kit, I think I'm right, but can you confirm or deny if I'm on the
Right,
right track or not?
right.
But oh my gosh. Um,
Well, and this is the kind of thing that, I mean, even working with somebody that's been doing it for 28 years. I mean, just today I was on the phone with her about one of her listings, and she's got some kind of legal issue that she's never
yeah.
dealt with before in 28 years. And so our broker has, she's been talking to him, and so I think there's never a time when you don't need somebody to
Mhm.
bounce things off of, and to ask for advice and all that kind of stuff. So it really is a business where it pays to, just to try to have good relationships with people, because you never know when you're going to come back around to somebody again. You may
Yep,
see
1,000,000%.
them again. Yeah, yeah.
It's a big world, but it's also really small.
It is. It is. Right.
So, oh my gosh, yeah, and that's why how our transaction kind of happened, um, that was honestly the first time that I had ever dealt with a kick-out clause and all that fun
Mhm.
stuff,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Well, your guys, your folks are super interested in it. Let me call her first."
Yeah.
And I'm just so glad it worked out, and thank you also for sending me those videos of the floors and everything in the kitchen, because
Yeah.
whenever I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god." Basically, long story short, guys, her folks bought my grandparent basically both of my grandmother's houses. One grandmother lived there at one point, and then the other grandmother we were selling it for. And so I'd always seen it one way with like green carpet on the floors and like totally different wood floors and a totally different type of kitchen. And I mean, what they did to that house, it's beautiful.
It is. It really does look amazing, it is my favorite transaction to date because,
Aw.
um, you think about memorable transactions, and we all have transactions that were tough,
Mhm. Oh,
you know,
yeah.
for whatever reason, things you think, oh, hope maybe never again. But
Mhm.
we moved them in over the weekend, and I need to send you some more pictures after we got all their stuff in.
Mhm.
But they bought all new furniture. They were downsizing for people watching. It was some elderly friends of mine.
Mhm.
They were living in Alexandria. They have a son and his family that live in Bristow, which took them about over an hour to get and they're both in Northern Virginia, but it took
On a
over an
good day.
hour to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they needed to move to be closer because of some health issues. And so we found this house. We loved it. Already had an offer, already been accepted. Then by the time we wanted to put an offer in, and then Marley her people backed out, and we came
Ooh.
in and snagged it, and we're just tickled. And my clients absolutely love the house. And we just keep talking about how perfect of a house it is for them, and just how all of it worked out so well. And I think it's one of those things too where always call the agent, right?
Mhm.
They'll text, or they'll, maybe even email an offer and never even call the agent.
Oh,
Or,
no.
it really pays to talk to somebody, because then, you can just know so much more if you talk to somebody, even over the phone, than just
Mhm.
texting or emailing. And so that really has been my favorite transaction. They are thrilled and just love the home. They
I
love it.
think I'm so happy about
Yeah,
that. That makes me happy on, like, the personal side of it, not
yeah,
just the real
yeah,
estate
me
side,
too.
just because there were so many happy memories that my family had there. So that just makes me happy in itself, but it was one of those scenarios where I feel like we all have these, where we don't know in the moment, like, why something doesn't happen, and
Right.
then we find out later, and this was one where I was like, "This is fate." Like, this was meant to happen and meant to go to your folks, so I was just so happy with that, especially because you were an absolute joy to work with. I'm not just saying that because 'cause you're on camera, but there was, like,
Thank
some
you.
stuff
You were
behind
too. You were too. It was
the
great.
there's some stuff behind the scenes on the other part of it that I was like, holy moly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this is a lot. But no, I'm so happy that worked out, and I'm glad that we kinda made that connection too.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
oh, so kinda going back to, like, whenever you kind of moved up here and you started your whole real estate adventure and everything, How difficult was, or I guess, did you guys already have family up here and kind of have like a network around you, or was it really difficult to kind of build that business up,
Yeah.
basically from the ground up?
So, honestly, no, we don't have family here. We don't.
Mhm.
We have our church family, and those are kind of our people. All of our families in Alabama.
Mhm.
Um, so we're a long way away from home, but honestly, I have a huge advantage in that I joined a team.
Mm.
So, in all honesty, I am working a lot with Charlotte's past clients.
Mhm.
Um, and I am working with people that I know, but I did not have to build this from the ground up as much as most do. So I'm very thankful I had a huge advantage when it comes to that. But now that I've been doing this for a while, people really are, and I'll tell you, I'm just not a salesperson. I love the real estate part of it. I love
Mhm.
the transaction. I even love the paperwork. I love all of it, you know, but I don't like selling myself, which is probably not very good when you're, when
It's
you're
the weirdest part. It's
right.
it's the weirdest part
It
to me.
is, and that's the part I like the least, but I think organically now people that know me kinda know what I do without and I really probably should tell people more,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I just it's really strange, but I am doing more for people that I know now, and people know what I do, and I'm not a big social media, I tried. I started an Instagram last
I
year.
did see that. It looks
Yeah.
good.
Beginning of the year thinking that, "Oh, I'm gonna do it this year because Charlotte really wants me to," and I've
Mhm.
been, so, maybe next year I'm gonna be better at that, but, I was doing well for a while trying to post, but she's a queen. She does videos and everything. She's really great at it, but, maybe one of these days I'll get there.
It
It does
takes.
not come easy.
No, it's honestly, the video aspect is really tough,
Yeah,
like, to get over and just, like, do it. Like, the
right.
first episode, I made my husband do it with me, and we just kinda talked about our, home buying experience the very first go around, and, we were just, like, on here on the back end, and I hadn't hit record yet or anything, and I'm just like, "I don't know why I'm so scared. I don't understand why I'm so scared to do this because I don't ever have to release it, and no one ever has to see it if I if I don't
Right,
like it."
right.
And he was just like, "1, 2, 3, go." And so I did it, and I was like, "Okay, well, that wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be."
Yeah.
Um, but
I'm
it
sure it
it
gets easier,
it
right?
does, but the first couple times you're just like, "Ooh," like,
Yeah.
it's kinda like a turtle, like, going back into its shell a little bit. But I don't know why I just thought this, but this is probably silly, and I don't know if you've ever seen her stuff, but I'm like, "You could be the Glenda Baker of
Oh,
Northern
she's
Virginia
in
real estate."
Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah, she's in
Yes,
Atlanta, but I'm
and sh
like,
her
she
southern
exactly, that's what kind of made me think, I'm like, Southern, super genuine, like, true to herself, like, just out there, and I'm like, Amberly could totally do that.
that is so funny. Oh, boy.
Um, there's a market for it, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
there's no mistaking that I'm not from Northern Virginia, right?
Yep, yep. I always love whenever, because I grew up there. I grew up in the
Oh,
Gainesville
okay.
area.
And the
Um,
where?
Gainesville?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we moved out there whenever, gosh, we were in Annandale, and we moved out there whenever it was, like, 2001. So there was literally, I kid you not, a Giant and a Blockbuster, and that was
Oh,
about it.
wow.
That was it.
Wow.
Like, we had to go into Manassas if we wanted to go to the mall or the movies, like, which is not far, but everything around there is, like, 20, 30 minutes away,
Right.
depending on traffic and stuff. But it was just now it's funny because every time I would go back after, like, college or after, having Finn and all that stuff, I'm like, I don't even recognize it because it's so built up and it's
And
not,
it's so
the
nice out
country.
there. Yeah,
Mhm,
it's so pretty out there.
mhm. Now, with that market up there, because you're more familiar on the real estate side of things a little bit since you've been up there and in it for the last 5, 6 years, um, how do you kind of feel like that kind of compares to like Clifton and those different niches up there as far as like Gainesville to Clifton and like Alexandria and all that market?
So, a lot of people love Bristow and Gainesville because you really do just get more for your money out there. The houses are newer, you get more square footage. It's really more suburbia, I think, out there. Which so is the Clifton Centerville area. I mean, we're in a neighborhood that's, very family friendly. We're close to all the schools, the elementary schools in our neighborhood. We have the high school and middle school right down the road. It's all just very, honestly, there's just not a bad, area. There are always, people always say, what neighborhood should I not, it just depends on what you want. But, in the proximity, do you need to be close to DC or if you don't, then I definitely would move out, farther out west, to get more for your money. But, houses sell in all those places, and if, to me, I think if the house is in good shape and, has been cared for and shows well, it doesn't matter if it's in Gainesville or Warrenton or, Arlington, it's going to sell. We just have a very vibrant, healthy market up here. And, of course it's slowed down, from the past 2 years, which, was inevitable, I guess. But it's still, we're still busy, and still have buyers and sellers. So even with, all the doom and gloom news that
I know, oh my gosh,
mainstream media would like you to think that everything is crashing, it's not.
No, it's not. I mean, there was we were trying to get a house for an investor client of mine, and it's in an area that a lot of investors like to have for rental properties and stuff. And we came in significantly strong, like very, very strong, very, very good terms. And I'm like, I'd be shocked if you didn't get it. We ended up not getting it because there was 11 offers on it. And this happened last weekend, 11 offers. Yeah. And I asked the agent, I was like, I'm just curious, could we have done anything? Because I mean, it was even cash too. Because I'm like, okay, so that contingency is already out, and a lot of the other stuff was out. And I'm like, could we have even done anything? And she's like, no, like you guys were in the top 3, but there was an offer that we could not refuse. Wow. And so, I mean, all the media that's in, trends and everything about interest rates and people slowing and stuff. I mean, it's slowed, but I feel like it's slowed more, at least down here, for stuff that's over 400. Like, I feel like the 100 to 200,000 is kind of the sweet spot for investors right now. And then 200 to 300 is kind of where a lot of those families are wanting to stay in. And there's still a lot of competition for it. And as a seller, you're going to be okay as long as your house is, in pretty, good condition and shows well and stuff.
Right.
But I mean, I totally agree with you up there, up in Gainesville and in that area. Like, what I think that area has going for it is all the workers for the government, whether it be government contractors or directly government employees, because that stuff's not going away. I mean, Amazon's up there as well, Microsoft's up there, IBM, all of that stuff. So it's not going to go away. And now
military, we have lots of military that are constantly having to move, every couple of years. So, I feel like, this is just an area where people are always moving in and out of. So, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is when you get transferred here, you need a house, and when you leave, you need to sell it, unless you keep it as a rental. But, we have seen, and we're still seeing multiple offers on stuff. Right now, I think to get multiple offers, your house really has to be in great shape. Buyers are a little more picky because of, sorry about that. Because
you're fine.
Because of, they know the market has softened.
Yeah.
Houses are staying on the market a little bit longer, but even then, people don't always want to negotiate you have buyers really thinking they're going to get a steal on these houses. And, the values haven't come down.
No.
From this time last year, they've increased even a little bit, from November of last year. So it really is kind of a good time for a buyer to get into the housing market if they're thinking about buying, because right now, even though the interest rates are high, you can always refinance when the interest rates go down. But right now, because of the interest rates and the economy the way it is, you're going to get a better deal. And you're also going to be able to have all the contingencies, like your inspection, your financing and appraisal contingencies in your contract, and get it accepted, where, this time last year, forget it.
Yeah.
You couldn't, hardly anybody got a home inspection in the last 2 years. So, if you're looking to buy a home, it's really a great time.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
I completely agree.
let's go down refinance. But
No, I completely agree with you on that. And I know I feel like all of us real estate agents sound like broken records to people with like either the phrases of, marry the house, date the rate,
Right.
just go ahead and refinance. But it's really true. Like, you need to think about, okay, if you have to buy, you have to buy. So what is a comfortable monthly payment for you? And while that interest rate might be higher than what you were hoping for, if you can pay just a little bit extra, that can kind of take all of it off, not all of it off, but
Right.
help you in the long run, on top of
Yeah.
give you time to refinance whenever the rates drop. But no, I was saying it too, like, everyone who's scared of the interest rates going up, that's going to take out a lot of competition as well. Because people are going to be like, I'm just going to wait. So now you can't, like you said, you can keep those contingencies in there. I mean, I was still I always recommend a home inspection, like, no matter what, because it'd be better to pay $500 to $600
Oh, yeah,
and be out
absolutely.
that than be stuck in a house with like
For
a
sure.
bazillion
Yeah.
problems.
Oh, yeah.
But there's ways you can write it in that it's still like favorable to the seller, but you also can get out if it's like catastrophic of what comes back on the
Right.
report.
Right.
So it's trying to, like, be a little creative with, I guess, how we write it, and, help our either buyer clients, or whenever we're reviewing it as the seller's client, figure
Right.
out what's the best deal in the end. But it's tricky. It's definitely tricky in this market. I'm always kind of kicking myself. I'm like, dang it, I should have gotten in like 2 years ago, whenever I first started thinking about it. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna wait. No, I don't know.
It was let's just say that I am not mad about the slowdown. It was 2 years of
Craziness.
just nonstop. I mean, it really was just nonstop. I mean, things were going so quickly that as soon as a property came on the market, it was very like, how quickly can you go? Like, you just had to drop everything, and if your client wanted to go right then, to try to get them in. And then it's, this mad rush to get the offer in, and try to get in touch with the listing agent before you write the offer, and kind of find out what you were up against. But it was just, and then writing offer after offer that did not get accepted, having to convince your clients
to pay more,
you really do have to do what I'm telling you to get it. Because, people don't necessarily, I mean, I do think people look at us as salesmen, right? And so, or salespeople, and they, they don't necessarily believe always what we're saying. So they kind of have to learn the hard way when they don't get the first, 2 or 3 houses they want. Then they finally understand, she's not kidding.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not making it up. I promise.
So I am glad, because it is stressful when your buyers have to waive a home inspection to get it. I mean, when everybody else is waiving it, they're not going to take it. Or, sometimes we would do walk and talk inspections. Some of the inspectors up here would, and some of the, a lot of the sellers would allow that. So you could schedule a showing, and you could bring an inspect. I mean, you had to pay for it, but if it was a house that, we had clients that, They wanted a specific area. They've been looking for a while. They knew the area. They knew what kind of house they wanted. So when a house was coming soon, they kind of kept an eye on it and then
Mhm.
decided, okay, we're going to take an inspector. And that way we can at least have him look at the house kind of for anything that maybe we might miss.
Mhm.
Um, as we, and I did try to look at things as we went through the house. We would turn things on, we kind of did a turn on the oven, make sure it works, sort of thing,
Mhm.
look for leaks under the sink and, here and there. So, we did the best we could, but it's still very stressful,
Well, because also we're not licensed contractors.
No, we're
So
not.
we know enough of what whenever we go to home inspections, whenever we ask
Right.
questions and, like, see stuff and they explain it to us and stuff, but we're not licensed, so, like,
No.
we can say, "I think,"
Yeah.
but don't
Right.
don't quote me on this, don't,
Right.
put it in writing and stuff 'cause I don't know,
Right.
for certain. I know other stuff about, like, the
Right.
contract that we're gonna be writing, but I
Now I
um
can tell you if I go in a house and I would not buy it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I've said that to my clients, when they say, "What do you think?" and you can see that little things have not been done, the big things have not been done. You
Mhm.
see, filthy air AC filters and you see, just maintenance that hasn't been done. I would be more nervous about buying this house than some
Oh,
that
yeah.
we've seen, or
Yep.
whatever, but you definitely want a home inspection. But yeah, so it's kind of like I feel now like it's more of a normal market
Mhm.
where it's not, 100 miles an hour, 24/7. It's okay. If you can't get to the house today, that's okay. Can you go tomorrow or even the
Yeah.
next day? It's been on the market for a couple weeks. If you can't get over there today, it's probably going to be there tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
And then you're probably going to be able to write all those contingencies in and
Mhm.
you might be able to get your closing costs paid or maybe a little more. But um, so it's definitely less stressful right now, I think.
Yeah. You don't have to, like, literally run through and then get to the car
No,
and write the offer. It's not
right,
like that anymore, which is
right.
nice. You can breathe. Um
Yes, yes. That's stressful. That's a stressful way to live. It was
Mhm.
a tough couple years, but
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So going off of like showing houses and stuff, I'm always curious because I have some funny stories just in like the last year of showing houses and what I've seen. What you know what's coming. So what is the funniest thing you've seen in showing a house to one of your
mm.
clients?
Well, I'll tell you one of the weirdest things that I saw recent or not recently, but several years ago is
Mhm.
that I wasn't expecting. So I had a client that was kind of looking for as an investment. They wanted to flip a house, So we went to look at this house and um, we got into the house and literally there was no kitchen floor. Like the kitchen floor had been completely torn up. All that was there, I mean, really, it was like the floor joist.
Are
And
you
then
serious?
I'm serious. So we literally were
Gosh.
stepping and we couldn't even get to the stairs without going across the kitchen
And they
floors.
gave you no warning?
No warning. No warning. We so I thought, okay, we don't really have the shoes for this, okay? So
No.
but we were stepping across, like, very carefully. I'm like, "Please be careful." I said, "Do you wanna try to go down and look in the basement?" Because the basement was off the kitchen. So, we walked across those floor joists, opened up, and she was ahead of me, and so she took, like, 2 steps into the basement, and I kid you not, the water in the basement was up to, like, maybe the washing machine was floating. It
Oh
was
my god.
it was full of water. It was completely full of water. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I thought, "Oh, no. Oh, no."
Now
What?
please tell me that at least it was being sold as is.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
I was like
I think ultimately somebody tore it down, because I
I
told
mean, at that
her,
point,
"This is more than." I said, "This is not a
yeah.
fixer-upper. This is like a demo and build something else on the lot."
Oh my
So
gosh.
she did not buy it, and we did not stay much longer, but, I mean, seriously, she started like 2 steps, and then we could see the water at the bottom of the stairs. I mean, up over the couple of stairs at the bottom. It
That's so
was
crazy.
was, or I guess more than 2 stairs, actually, 2 steps, but it was crazy. I've never that's the you know, I've
I
been
mean,
in houses too at night, which,
mm.
was probably not a great idea, but, with a flashlight that didn't have any electricity on
Mm.
with this same person.
Oh
She
my
was
gosh.
we were looking at a different house, and, there was no electricity on in the house, and we literally went in with our phone flashlights, and that was a
Mhm.
little creepy,
Yep.
because it was dark by the time we got there, and, yeah, I mean, yeah, just, just
Yep.
you never know
The
what you're gonna see,
Oh no.
you know?
The basements always kind of creep me out
Yeah.
because like I mean, I love old homes and character. I mean,
Oh, me too.
you get a ton of that in Roanoke and Salem down here. Um, and there was one with actually a client that she's turned into a friend. She's just amazing. But it was one of those where it's like, okay, this might be a better tear down and rebuild and probably more than what you want to do. But I remember vividly, like we walked through the house and we're like, okay, this is kind of gross. We probably should have worn different shoes and stuff than what we had planned. But then we get to go around the house because how to get to the basement for this one, it was you had to go outside and go down. And just going down those steps, I'm like, this is weird. I don't know. And
Yeah,
luckily it was like full daylight because if this had been at night, I don't even think I would have tried. But we open the door and it's just like cobwebs after cobwebs after
yeah,
cobwebs, and it's like dirt. It's not really a basement. It's just kind of like a dirt, not a crawl space, not a basement, kind of
right,
in between.
right.
And I'm like, okay, I'll go for you. I will do this for you. But she's like, no, you don't have to. We're good. We can go. And I was like, thank you so much because I really don't want to go in here.
Yeah,
But there's been other ones too that I'm just like, I wish agents would I mean, obviously you're dealing with people, so you
right,
cannot control what people do.
right.
But there's some things that I'm like, you should you shouldn't have to say this to people, but like clean up your dirty laundry, don't put it on the back of a doorknob. Like like there's been I'm like, "Oh, that's a nice surprise. Okay."
Yeah, that's funny. So Charlotte that I work with, she had a listing, that was a hoarder situation, and there was
Oh,
actually a raccoon carcass in the house
aw,
that was
that's so sad.
old. It was old.
Ugh. Oh,
So
man.
that was an investor ended up buying that and just completely gutting it and,
Mm.
whatever, but it was a sad situation
Yeah,
as far as,
that's terrible.
but I've never seen a dead raccoon in a house, but she did.
I
She
think
just
what
she
is
sent
the
me a
coolest
picture.
what is the coolest thing that you've seen in a house that kind of surprised you? Because I know mine was probably like it was a house that was built in like 1950, 1951. And I was walking with this client who, little, different demographic than me. And she's looking for it. And she's like, well, actually, this makes sense because my parents, whenever they had their house, like they actually had this in their house too. Makes sense for the time. It was like a bomb shelter bunker
Oh,
in a
yeah,
house,
yeah,
which I mean, I had just never seen that before. Like you hear about all that stuff, but I had never actually seen that. And I was like, this is pretty cool. I mean, you could use it and make it out to like a wine cellar or something.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
some cool things you could do with it. But what is the coolest thing you've seen?
I've actually seen something like that was although they this was actually out in Warrenton.
Yep.
I was showing farms one time to a client, and, we went into this old house, and it was a cool old house, but everything
Hmm.
we looked at needed work, and, um, it had one of those kinds of rooms in the basement, but they had all this soundproofing, like, it was, like, soundproofed.
Mm.
It seemed very I mean, it was just really creepy. I mean, there were a lot
Yeah.
of comments, being made as we were walking around, my clients and then, some friends of theirs were with us, and, it was a strange, we were like, I mean, because it didn't really look, I don't know what it was, but it was weird. And it was a really old house too. But I'm trying to think of cool things that I have seen.
We always see weird things
I
like
know
that. That's a given.
that you remember. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh
Just
yeah.
weird. Um,
So how do you kind of go about, I always wonder this too, just being, um, you know, a girl going to showings, meeting people that I might not have met before. Like there's been a couple times that I'm like, hey babe, can you just come with me and stay in the car? Or like I always have my, what's it called? Like my location turned on for him because I'm
oh
like,
yeah.
you just never know. So how do you kind of deal with that? I mean, luckily up there, I mean, there's still plenty of, places that are more rural and stuff like Warrington and Culpeper and stuff like that. But how do you kind of deal with that? Do you just kind of keep your location on and tell your husband where you're going to be or?
Yes. And I have taken him with me.
Mhm.
When um, there's also an app called Forewarn. I don't know if you
Mm,
know about it,
no.
but it is an app where you can put in a cell phone number and it pulls up if they have any criminal history.
Oh,
So I
nice.
have that now. So if I'm meeting somebody that I absolutely, if it's not a referral or,
Mhm.
maybe we get a Zillow call, we get a lot of Zillow calls, and I almost always put that number in and just see if they have any kind
Mhm.
of criminal. Not that, I mean, there's a first time for everything, right?
Yep. Yep.
um, but I do try to be careful. I did have a, and sometimes you think, am I overthinking it? Have I watched too many
Mhm.
movies, too much
Yeah. Too
Criminal
much true
Minds or
crime.
whatever?
Yeah.
Um, but I had a situation one time where this guy asked me to see a condo, and it was in a very populated area
Mhm.
where I usually shop. I mean, it's close to
Mhm.
my house, and um, it was during COVID, so of
Mhm.
course he had on a mask, but he had on like the kind that you pull over your head, like almost like a not a ski mask, but like the
Okay.
kind that comes down and you can just
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
He had on gloves, and he was
yeah.
driving a van. And so already I'm like, okay. And then I
Oh,
was showing him a vacant condo.
mhm,
So so I learned from actually the man who taught my real estate class, just was big on safety, especially women. And he always said, don't put, try to not put your back to people that you don't
mhm.
know,
Let them
don't,
walk in the room first and, like, you
right, don't
yeah,
let them block you in the driveway, that sort of thing.
mhm,
So I opened the door for him and told him he could go on in.
mhm.
And then I went in behind him and he asked me a question. And then he walked really quickly toward the door. And it scared me because I thought, is he about to click? I darted out the door, like almost like under him before and I said, you can go look at that. And he said, well, I would like to bring my mom back. Can you come back and meet me? And I, you know, it was very strange. And I said, well, he wanted to meet me like later that evening when it was going to be dark. And I said, no,
Yeah.
so it was a weird thing where I just did not, follow up with him or whatever, I left and I was literally really scared.
Well, I mean
I mean, he had on, and he might have been as innocent as any,
exactly.
right?
But if you list out all those things and then you listen to, like,
Yeah,
a true crime podcast,
right.
you're like, "Hmm, that
Yeah,
doesn't
it's so
It
strange.
it doesn't add up, and we are literally the only, like, species, I feel like now that we don't listen to our gut.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and so, like, if there's
Everything
enough
was telling me, "Get out of here."
yeah,
I
if
mean,
there's enough
everything.
things that
Yeah,
is, like, making the hair on your neck tingle, like,
right.
something's not right.
Yeah,
I mean, there's been plenty of those that I can kinda think of, like, not just with real estate, but also with, like, leaving
right.
the grocery store at night
Oh, of
and stuff, and
course.
it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, that's a little odd." So, like, listen to that because it's much better to be like, "Sorry," and make a joke of it later whenever you find
Right.
out it's fine,
Yeah,
or it could go the opposite way. But
right.
I'm just always curious about that. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you're okay.
unnerving. Yeah, I survived.
I'm
I
glad
went
you're
home
okay.
very quickly. I was like, "Ooh."
You're like, babe, you're not gonna
Yeah,
believe what I have
yeah,
to tell you.
yeah. I called him on the way home. I was like, "I am about, sick. I feel almost sick."
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know. I mean, maybe the guy was fine, but it
You
was
just
it
never,
was creepy. It was very
yeah.
creepy.
Yeah, you just never know. And I feel
You
like
don't. You don't.
anyone listening to this, like if you're gonna go meet a real estate agent, don't do it with gloves, a mask, and a van. Because that's just gonna you might be very nice, but
And
you just
don't be saying weird things
yeah.
and also things he said just sort of didn't make some of the stuff he had said didn't make sense. And I just
Mhm.
thought, he just telling a bunch of lies. Like, what's the deal with this guy? But
Mhm. Oh my
I
gosh.
don't
Well, on that note, I know I've taken I know I've taken entirely more time than what I could, I kind of explained in the beginning, but where can everyone find you? I know you have that Instagram, do you have Facebook, all that good stuff?
So I do have an Instagram. It is Amberly Cicero Realtor. Um, you can find me there. You can also find me. We have a website, charletshriner.com, CHARLET, Shriner, SHRINER.com. She's my team leader. So you can message me through that. I'm with Remax Gateway out of Chantilly. You can Google me. Um,
And don't worry, I'll be putting all of this in the show notes too, so with
okay.
links and stuff. So,
So if you have anybody, if you know anybody moving to Northern Virginia, or you have somebody up here that needs, help, I'd love to help them.
awesome. Well, I'm sure if I get any of those leads, I will be sending them to you too.
Thank you. And
Um,
same here for Roanoke. So don't
yes,
worry. You're
please.
my go-to down there.
Yay, I love to hear it. But thank you again so much for your time. We're gonna have to have you back on because I feel like you have a lot more stories that need to be shared. Um, we could just do a whole
We should run
episode.
both. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But guys, thank you for watching another episode of Real Estate Unfiltered. And hope you're having a great holiday and stay tuned because again, we still have a lot of guests lined up for more shows in the new year. So have a good one.